Marcia Brown from Atlanta, Georgia. Ms. Brown works with Hands On Atlanta, where she manages the school-based AmeriCorps program. However, we will hear how she works to keep AmeriCorps alumni involved in service after completing their term of service. Perhaps she holds the answer to how we can keep the one-third of volunteers from leaving service after 1 year, and then we could apply that to possibly teaching as well.
Now, good morning, Chairwoman McCarthy and members of the committee. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to testify. I'm here today as a proud veteran of AmeriCorps' national service and a current member of AmeriCorps Alums, the national network that aims to connect, support, and mobilize alums to strengthen our communities and our nation. I'm honored to be here as one of the 400,000 alums of national service. Ultimately, I hope to convey that we have an enormous, unrealized opportunity to leverage the significant investment we are making in service leaders through AmeriCorps by following it with a relatively modest investment in the lifetime of service that AmeriCorps inspires. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my story and how I came to be an AmeriCorps member. At the time, I was working in sales, and everybody knows that salespeople are driven by money. And I, too, was driven by that money. But I had a client that needed a rocket scientist, and I found one. So she came in, she went to the assignment. 2 weeks later, she comes in, she says, "Ms. Brown, I'm not going to be able to work there anymore." And I was like, "Oh, sweetie, what happened?" She says, "Well, I'm just not happy." Silence on my end. I'm thinking to myself, what in the world has happy got to do with it? You're making a truckload of money. So what, so anyway, on the way home, I'm thinking to myself, I'm so upset. Why am I so upset? I couldn't figure out if I was upset at her or upset at myself. But ultimately, I realized that I was upset with me because it had never occurred to me about being happy or fulfilled on a job. I only had ever worked for money. About the same time, I began to read about the children's test scores in Atlanta and that they were failing in reading and math, and thought that it would be a good time to do something besides shake my head every day and say, the kids can't read. So I went on to the website and ended up on Hands On Atlanta's website and found the AmeriCorps program, and that is how I began my term of service. I was lucky enough to be, in 0405 I served, I'm sorry. I was the volunteer coordinator for Centennial Elementary School, and what that basically meant was that I was in charge of bringing resources, whether they be corporate, colleges, business, churches, into the community, into that school community specifically to tutor children and mentor programs. But I also was able to work with the Salvation Homeless Shelter, and I was able to, because of my recruiting background, 13 people partnered with the Sheraton Hotel, and they got jobs. So one day I was there, and this guy comes up to me. He says, "Ms. Brown," he said, "you don't remember me, do you?" "I know, sweetie, what's your name?" He says, "I'm Mario. I used to live in the shelter, but I don't live there anymore." And it was just like, the music played, and it was such a moment for me, because at that moment I realized that I had the power to change lives. So through my AmeriCorps experience, and now that I'm serving, I continue to serve. I'm a program manager with Hands On Atlanta, and now I manage a team of 27 members in 7 of the lowest performing schools in Atlanta, and we are able to bring in mentor programs from Georgia Tech, Emory, Morehouse, and Spelman, just to name a few. I'm a board member of the Vine City Association, and I also sit on the steering committee for the Annie E. Casey Foundation for Student Success. And I say these things to you because I am but one, but there are many, many alums out there just like me. But what we need is, we need a way to network. We need to be able to tap into everyone's skill set, bring that thing together on a national level. We recently had the opportunity to be in New Orleans for Katrina, and Miss Peggy said without a doubt, without the alums, that her house never would have been built. My time's running out, so I got to tell you specifically. I want to suggest that the committee include in the legislation funding for AmeriCorps Alumni Reserve Corps, which would create a national database of alums and other skilled individuals who are prepared, trained, and willing to be deployed to respond to national crises, those disasters, and educational. This reserve force would leverage the investment our nation has already made in AmeriCorps by tapping the talents of those who have served, giving these individuals the chance to continue their civic commitment. This hearing happens on the eve of an important milestone for AmeriCorps, the enrollment of the 500,000th member coming next month. In the next decade, sooner rather than later, I hope, when we are celebrating the millionth AmeriCorps member milestone, I envision a network of alums that is continuing to lead the strengthening of communities through service that leverages the skills, experience, and talents of rich and diverse individuals that make up the network to build a stronger and more vibrant country with a small but intentional focus of resources and the will to spirit of AmeriCorps alums to serve. We can make that vision a reality. I'd like to thank you today for the opportunity to testify.